Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be
Recording in
with us for
progress.
there it is, for our March meeting of our Transportation Advisory Committee. Good to see everybody. Sunshine is out here in Louisville. It's turning warm. Life is beautiful. The birds are singing. The gladiols or whatever those things are coming up out of the ground. It's a lovely day to be. It's a lovely day to be a TAC member. We have a quorum. The reminder members, if you've had a chance to take a look at the agenda, if you have an item that you appear to have any kind of conflict of interest with, that would either be you or any member of your immediate family. We ask that you identify that at this point so we can excuse you from participating in that discussion. Are there any conflicts of interest? If not, very good. I would be remiss if Kelly is not here if I didn't remind you that you have until April 15th to complete your conflict of interest statements. And I think Kelly has sent that information out. It really doesn't take long. It takes about 10 minutes or so when you do it online. And if you have any issues or having trouble doing it, get a hold of Kelly. But we have until April 15th. And from what I understand, there's a hefty fine on those of us who don't do it. Those of us, you know what my status is now. Those of us who don't get it done by April 15th. So that's just a reminder there. Members, you also receive, go back one step. John, do we have anybody for public comments today?
No public comments today.
All righty. Members, you received your minutes from our last TAC meeting. You've had a chance to review them. If there are no changes or additions, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as submitted.
Move approval, Clark.
Second, Brandon.
Clark makes the motion. Mayor Brandon makes the second, I believe. Any discussion? Okay, John, call the roll. You thought I'd forget, didn't you?
Yes, I did. All right. Mr. Robert Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Bessie,
Yes.
Mr. Brandon,
Yes.
Mr. Rocket,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Byram,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Mr. Todd, Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
Is there anyone I missed?
Yes, Apple, I vote yes.
Sorry about that, Mr. Apple. Is there anyone else? Okay.
All right, yes, that's unanimous to me. John, you have our first item of consideration today.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is
Actually, let me jump in to do something first. We've got to make one agenda adjustment before we start going down the list. Members, if you will look at information items number 8, we would like to move that into an action item on today's agenda. It's an appointment to our RFF roof funding subcommittee. If there are no objections, we will move that into the action items on our agenda. Thank you. No, John, excuse me.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Horn. Item 3 is the FY 24-23 Transportation Improvement Program amendments and modifications. This was an information item at last month's meeting, and these 3 amendments did not receive any public comment, with the public comment period starting on February the 20th. Of note, there was one addition to this, U-2579, the Winston-Salem Northern Beltway. This is a request from the division as well as the NCDOT STIP unit. There's a need to obligate funds as soon as possible with this amendment, or modification rather, and therefore we've been asked to accelerate the approval of this. The portion of the Beltway that is amended in STIP has been moved from state to federal funds prior to letting, and the STIP unit will be putting this on the April handout for the May Board of Transportation approval. So, are there any questions relating to item 3?
Any questions for John? And John, I'm assuming we're accelerating this because we have some concern about the availability of federal funds.
It could be.
Okay, very good. If there are no questions, members, will
Motion
entertain a
to
motion,
approve.
please.
I'll second the motion that we approve.
I have a question, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Being that most of us or some of us were in Washington last week or over the past month or so, are we looking or thinking that in the future we may have to be fast tracking or voting things based on what some of us heard, that funds may be available, funds may be pulled back, not just from the state, the feds, but the state as well. And if staff doesn't have any comments on it, maybe can get back with us to give us an update, maybe pull in our DOT representative and so forth.
So let's flag that for just an informational thing. I know everybody's a little, Dee Dee, it's hard, as you know, it's hard to predict right now. There's all kinds of movement going on.
But that's why I'm asking, Chair Horn,
Yeah.
are we going to be, is there a probability that we will be trying to fast track as many items as we can to just get them, to try to get them in the tunnel or the portal?
Yeah, I think rather than waiting until next meeting, Hunter, if you or John, Jeff could just provide us with an answer on that, you can check with our Division 9 folks, folks with the state, see if there's any concern that they have. But I think Dee Dee's question is valid at this point.
Thank you.
And we can shoot a note out to our TAC members before next meeting, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All righty. John, you got the roll call.
Mr. Robert Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Bessie,
Yes.
Mr. Brannon,
Yes.
Mr. Rocket,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mayor Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Byram,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Mr. Todd,
Yes.
and Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
Thank you, members. That was unanimous. Hunter, you have our next item, please.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor Horn and members of the Transportation Advisory Committee. The item before you is item number 4, and it is the consideration of the fiscal year 2025 through 2026 Unified Planning Work Program. The Unified Planning Work Program, in simple terms, is the budget and summary of activities for the Winston-Salem area TPO. Each year, the Winston-Salem area TPO is required to develop and approve the UPWP, identifying all transportation and transit planning projects and work tasks to be completed during the upcoming fiscal year, and the estimated amounts of federal and state planning funds that will be used to complete the work, plus the required matches. The document is organized to highlight funding sources, followed by task summaries, transit funding and transit tasks, and a 5-year calendar that highlights which tasks are likely to be important over the next 5 years. As always, there's a lot of exciting work to be done in this Unified Planning Work Program, and FY 2026 will be no exception to that rule. This will be a year for updating our MOU as an MPO, or TPO, I should say, updating our public participation plan, launching into yet another round of strategic prioritization, prioritization 8.0, advancing our safety research and planning, and putting a nice bow on our long-range metropolitan transportation plan, while also beginning to put it in action. There are several special studies that our staff would like to note, as well as local agencies will be tackling this year. A reminder here really quickly that special studies are a really important vehicle in our MPO for project development and establishing good cost estimates and potential project schedules, and just getting a sense of the feasibility of certain projects, and something that we'd certainly like to see more of our municipalities take on as they submit projects through our regional flexible funding program and so on. So on that note, there are a few exciting studies in the UPWP that we want to draw your attention to. One of which is the Long Branch Trail Connector Feasibility Study, which will explore options for bicycle and pedestrian facility connections from the future terminus of the Long Branch Trail Extension to the Wake Forest University Athletic Complex, as well as 2 studies in the town of Walkertown, a Walkertown bypass, and a Walkertown intersection study requested by the town of Walkertown. And one study from the city of Winston-Salem that will be moving into this fiscal year is, of course, the Salem Creek Low Water Bridge feasibility study. Attached, you'll find the draft UPWP for fiscal year 25 through 26, and it will become the adopted UPWP pending board approval of this item. The item was made available for 2 separate 30-day public review periods, and during which time we received no comment. With that being said, happy to take any questions on this item.
Thank you. Any questions for Hunter? Folks, this probably made up the bulk of our TAC booklet. If you just had a chance to flip through it, you can see the incredible number of tasks that are being assigned to our group here to work through. I asked who was responsible to stay on top of them, and Kelly is the person, evidently, who is going to crack the whip on all of the studies. But it's an impressive program of work. If you have a chance, glance at it, because these guys are going to be busy. Thank you. If there are no questions for Hunter, we'll entertain a motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Hutchins makes the second. I believe that was Mayor Todd was the motion. Mayor Todd was the second. Any discussion? All righty. John?
Mr. Robert Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Bessie,
Yes.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rocket,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Byram,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Mr. Todd,
Yes.
Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
Good. Thank you, members. That appears to be unanimous. All righty. Well, our next item is going to be handled from somebody who we've not met before. Let me introduce Maddie Burgess. Maddie Burgess is a new transportation project planner. Maddie, tell us just a little bit about yourself before you jump into your item.
Good afternoon, Mayor Horn and members of the TAC. I am new to Winston-Salem DOT. I'm the new transportation project planner. So I'll be working closely with WISTA and their bus routes.
You came from where?
I came from Winston-Salem. I grew up in Louisville.
You grew up in my fine town of Louisville? We expect
Yes,
great things
sir.
from you, of course. Great things from you, of course. Okay. Maddie, welcome. Glad you could be with us. And you have the next item for our consideration.
Yes, this item number 5 before you is to request your consideration of the City of Winston-Salem's 2025 update to Winston-Salem Transit Authority's Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan. The Federal Transportation Administration, FTA, requires public transit agencies to adopt a Public Transportation Safety Plan, also known as PTASP. This document came into effect July 19, 2019, and continues to be updated annually. The purpose of PTASP is to establish a safety management system, define clear roles and responsibilities for both the City of Winston-Salem and RATP Dev, which is the contractor providing the transit services for WISTA, and meet FTA requirements for safety performance monitoring, risk management, and safety promotion. The goal of this program is to eliminate the human and fiscal cost of avoidable personal injury, vehicle accidents, and property damage. The current PTASP can be found on pages 74 through 104 in your agenda book. The updates that are being made to the PTASP include latest FTA requirements along with annual performance measure updates to the hazard and threat assessment, which can be found in Exhibit 1 of the plan. RATP Dev, the contractor, has made strides in safety monitoring and training, helping WISTA improve and implement its safety performance targets. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Maddie. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Maddie, these are, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Bessie.
Oh, this is not directly pertaining to the agenda item here, so I won't belabor it, but Ms. Burgess, will you be helping with the WISTA report later on?
Yes, sir, I will be.
I'll hold for then. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All righty. If there are no questions for Maddie, may we have a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
Adams makes the motion. Mr. Clark makes the second. Any discussion? Okay, John, please call the roll. Oh, John, you're muted. There you
Mr.
go.
Robert Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Bessie,
Yes.
Mr. Brandon,
Yes.
Mr. Rocket,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
yes,
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Byram,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Mr. Todd, Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
Members, that is unanimous. Maddie, I don't know if Jeff had mentioned to you or not, but between now and our next meeting, you must memorize and explain to us all of the acronyms that we're using that you'll find in the back of the planning book, okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I don't know that I could do that, and I've been doing this for quite some time. I don't know if that's quite fair.
She can bring a cheat sheet. All righty. Ridwana, you have our next item, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor Horn and members of the TAC. So this item before you is requesting your consideration of fiscal year 2026 congestion mitigation and air quality improvement program for CMAQ and fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025 carbon reduction program for CRP projects for the Winston-Salem Area Transportation Planning Organization. So just a little bit of background. CMAQ was established in 1991 as part of the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act, or ICE-T, and it funds transportation projects and programs in air quality, non-attainment and maintenance areas to help achieve and maintain the national standards for criteria air pollutants. And the carbon reduction program was established in 2021 as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, and that funds projects that reduce on-road emissions of carbon dioxide. And both of these federal projects are administered by NCDOT. So the TPO held its first call for projects in 2024 between October 1st and November 13th, but that call did not yield any applicants. So we did a reopening of the call for projects between December 10th and January 3rd of 2025. And that resulted in 2 applicants. And this year, between CMAQ and CRP, there are approximately $2.9 million available to fund projects, and about 64% of that is from CMAQ funds, and about 35.9% is from CRP funds. So we had 2 candidate projects that totaled $2.6 million that were submitted for consideration for this cycle. And the evaluation process for the projects consists of 3 components: an emissions reduction that was calculated by the Forsyth County Office of Environmental Assistance and Protection, and that was worth 50% of the project score. And then there was a quantitative checklist that the TPO staff conducted with respect to these projects, and that was worth 25%. And then the third component was the project narratives, which were reviewed and rated by our amazing project selection committee, and that was worth 25% as well. So PART, Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation, requested $1.8 million to fund the Winston-Salem High Point PART Express Route I-74 corridor, and the City of Winston-Salem requested $800,000 for the downtown streetlight procurement and replacement project. And we found that both of these projects were eligible for CMAQ and CRP funding, and they did not exceed what was available for funding for this cycle. And we are recommending that both projects be fully funded. So with all that in mind, are there any questions?
Questions for Ridwana? All righty. I don't know if Scott Ryan is on the meeting, but Scott, this is this will connect, I'm assuming, Winston-Salem with the High Point train station. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Will actually, it's doing things a little bit different than what we had years ago, dating back into 2005 when we had primarily for the connection in with Amtrak and Winston-Salem. This one actually is still connecting with Amtrak, but we're hitting a little bit more in Winston-Salem. And when I say hitting a little bit more, we've got stop at Forsyth Tech. We have hospitals that we're going to be going to with regards to Forsyth Medical and Baptist, as well as going to Union Station in Winston-Salem and Winston-Salem State. So the routes, we will finalize and put those things in place, publicize, put it out there. We've got a few steps following TAC action. Obviously, we're going to be dealing with another flex of funds from federal highways and federal transit. So we're going to try to get this out as soon as we can, but we've got a few months with regards to just programmatic activity of getting funds approved and then going through MTIPs, which will come back in front of your body, and then also with the state, and then dealing with the transfer at DOT to federal highways and federal transit. So there's a little bit of time before we'll kick it off, but we will get this off hopefully sooner than later. I'm targeting to try to get something going before the end of the calendar year, but we'll certainly keep everybody up to speed because we feel this corridor, as it continues to develop, will actually have some good usage of people making those connections, not only for Amtrak, but also the other locations I mentioned.
That's great. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Members, any questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion, please.
Move approval.
Second.
Bessie makes the motion. Ms. Adams makes the second. Any further discussion? All righty, John.
Mr. Robert Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Bessie,
Yes.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rocket,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Byram,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Mr. Todd,
Yes.
Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, members. That sounds unanimous. Hunter, you have item number 7, please.
Thank you, Mayor Horn, and good afternoon again, everyone. The item before you is the consideration of a resolution that approves a letter of support for the City of Winston-Salem on behalf of the Winston-Salem Transit Authority's grant application for the anticipated fiscal year 2025 Bus and Bus Facilities Competitive Program and Low or No Emission Grant Program. Last year, support letters like those from our MPO were critical in securing a $4.4 million federal grant to secure 5 hybrid buses through the Low and No Emissions Grant Program. Support letters, of course, fulfill a vital application requirement to demonstrate need and public support for a project. With more of the Winston-Salem Transit Authority fleet aging into the 500,000 mile and 12-year useful life threshold, the need for additional bus replacements persists. So the TPO recognizes the need for bus replacements to support existing services and maintain a state of good repair as indicated in our 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and therefore recommends the adoption of this item that approves a letter of support from the Winston-Salem Area TPO Transportation Advisory Committee that endorses our application. Happy to take any questions on this item.
Any questions for Hunter, please? Mr. Bessie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of questions that are interrelated. Is this for a different 5 bus replacements than the grant that was suspended or is uncertain at this point due to the changes in Washington?
Yes, thank you for the question, Commissioner Bessie. The intent is still hopefully that the grant that was announced as awarded for FY24 in the $4.4 million still holds. We are, of course, waiting further guidance from our federal partners on whether that will be the case. We know that the Low or No Emissions program, like a lot of other discretionary DOT grant programs, are essentially on hold right now, especially if there's not an executed agreement in place. And that is the case for the FY24 grant that was awarded. So this would be for the fiscal year 2025 notice of funding opportunity when and if it is announced. It's anticipated that this grant program is announced at some point. What I would share is that we anticipate that the project selection criteria this time around is going to be quite a bit different. And the application that is submitted, will emphasize different strengths of this particular application. So we are planning for the grant to be announced later this year as on schedule. So we want to gather that support letter. But to answer your question, yes, this is for an additional 5 buses to the ones that were already awarded.
Thank you. And with regard to the previously awarded grant, is that an item that's subject to any of the pending litigation regarding the announced changes and freezes to various programs?
Could you clarify the specific litigation? There is a lot of litigation surrounding federal freeze and other things at the moment. If there's a particular case that could be helpful, hesitant to comment on any particular case and the impact this particular project.
I can understand. I'll take that question up offline with one of the attorneys. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, President, this goes back to what my question was earlier. I think this committee, we need to hear, like I've talked with my colleagues, Councilmember Clark, people don't know what they don't know, what's really going on. And it's not just going to affect cities like Winston, it's going to affect everybody. So if you got things in the queue with TAC or anything, I think, particularly with this group, it would be great, again, if we could get an update of something. I know you don't have all the answers because nobody could give us any answers. Am I right, Councilmember Clark?
Yeah, we were up last week, I guess it was, and
It was.
Nobody could comment because nobody knows. And to Mr. Bessie's thing, I suspect there's litigation on everything, including this.
Basically, what we were told in DC, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, was that a number of you in the audience won't like it, but here's what we're going to do anyway. Those were the words as I heard them from the Vice President last week.
Is it even, can we even with any certainty identify the projects that might be vulnerable?
Mayor Horn, I'll take a stab at that question really quickly. And I know Jeff has his hand up and would like to weigh in on this as well. What we are hearing now from NCDOT STIP unit, although they will not put it in writing, you'll notice a lot of folks will not put things in writing right now because of the uncertainty of the situation. But what we have heard from the NCDOT STIP unit at this time is that money is flowing pretty much as expected for formula funded programs. So things through the National Highway Program, and for now, some of the formula grant programs like BGDA that you see through our RFF program. We've heard that things are proceeding generally as normal. What we have also heard, though, is that our discretionary grant programs, the competitive awards, something like your Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, known as RAISE grant, the low or no emissions grant that we're discussing right now, those are competitive programs, and the pause certainly does apply to the discretionary programs as we know it now. That's the line that we're hearing from NCDOT's STIP unit. But as far as real decisive communication from our federal partners and our state partners, we are not getting it at this time. That's what I can offer at the moment, and I'll turn things over to Jeff to weigh in.
Well, Mr. Chair, when you've got good staff, you don't have to add much to what Hunter just said, but he nailed it when he said, what we know is a lot of the formula funds are likely to be able to continue, and we have taken a stance programmatically. And Mayor Pro Tem, to your point, we're trying to facilitate as much of operations as usual, since a lot of the formula-based funds are kind of what we've been instructed to do is kind of carry on. And so we're going to do that. But to the question about providing a status of what projects are at risk or what projects certainly fall into the discretionary category, Hunter mentioned RAISE as a good example. We all are familiar with the Long Branch Trail project as a prime example of frankly put, Federal Highway said, just hold on and wait. We don't have anything to share with you right now. And no, we will not enter into an agreement with you. So that's the kind of conversations we're having. But Mayor Pro Tem and Mr. Chair, it is really project specific, but what we can do, and I encourage other agencies to think about this, working with NPO staff, is to find out which projects are have these type of funding allocated to them, and then communicate that with their elected officials, the folks that sit on the TAC. At least we'll identify the projects that we expect to be able to move forward because they are formula funded, or maybe ones that have a flag of discretionary funds that may be subject to further scrutiny. And I think that's a good exercise for us all to go through. But again, I'm happy to work with the NPO and provide that, Mr. Chair, at the frequency that we think that our team here needs to see and the TAC members need to see. So with that, we will try to answer any questions, but you may hear more of the same, which is something we don't know, or we'll have to consult others. And certainly I know our folks at NCDOT and NCDOT Planning, FHWA, they all have their own set of understanding about things that come from Raleigh and from Washington, D.C. So all that to say, hopefully that helps a little bit, but if it is a project specific element, I think we can give you some general guidance, but it may not be to the nuance that we think we should at this time.
So we know a lot about nothing, or nothing about a lot. That's probably a better way to say it. Okay. Dee Dee, I want to get back to you real quick because I want to be sure we're responsive to what you're asking. If I just heard what Jeff said, is that they can begin to take a look at projects, but that there's no certainty with the answers that they can give us.
And I thank you, and that basically is it. But for me, I don't want this organization or group to not have some type of semblance of the same message. That we all have projects, we all have formula-based projects, we all have monies or whatever coming from DC, Raleigh. But I'm one of those people that believe if you got a group, then the group needs to hear the message clear from the experts or whatever information that they have, versus all of us walking around and you find out that bridge or that road or that roundabout or whatever, the bus, whatever that you thought you were going to get is not in the mix. So yes, if you can let the different municipalities know the differentiation of our projects from staff. I know y'all got a lot on your plate, but I just believe, I know everybody has not been to DC or didn't go to DC, but as Mr. Apple said, they basically told us to chill and be quiet. So I can't do that, because you all like me are elected. And if we're not able to say something, or at least know something from our subject matter expert staff, then that's on us. So we have the responsibility to ask questions and to request information and data. And that's what I'm doing, because I just know that the 4 or 5 projects, and Councilmember Clark knows that we kept reiterating in DC, and basically we were told, chill, just be quiet. And we are responsible because our buses are aging. And if all of a sudden there are things that happen because of us not being able to provide those answers to our constituents and others, then we become liable for that. And I'm not going to be in a position that I don't have some type of information, President Horn, as to what's going on in our district, period.
Yeah, I think, Jeff, do you have enough, I think, we got a clear statement from you as to what you perceive is going on, but I think Dee Dee is kind of focusing in on very specific projects and how they affect our individual municipalities. Is there any way, don't crystal ball it, but is there a likely project to move? Is there a way to say this project is likely to move forward and this project is not likely to move forward at this point?
I think there are some general assumptions we can say that to certain types of projects. The category will largely depend on how it's funded, Mr. Chair. So I think what we can do as an exercise is consult with all of our partners about what projects they have and the general flavor of how they are funded. With what we know now, we can kind of give what the current communication has been of how we perceive those projects moving forward. Now, it will likely be a caveat assigned to that just because of what we don't know. And then I'll ask that we all just kind of understand that it is subject to further scrutiny and review by all of our legal attorneys and so forth. But yes, Mayor Horn, I think we can provide some general understanding on a project by project basis.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Hunter, reel me back in. Did we have a vote on that last item?
I don't believe so.
don't
But it
believe
was
so
a great
either.
conversation that Commissioner Bessie started, and certainly
Right.
very valid related to this project. This is a grant application for a discretionary program, and certainly one of the programs that the administration is taking a look at right now. So yeah, I believe if there's no further questions on item number 7, you can turn it over for a vote.
I believe we did have a motion and a second.
We
And
did.
so we completed discussion. Any further discussion? All righty, John, will you go ahead and call our roll, please?
Mr. Robert Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Bessie,
Yes.
Mr. Brannon,
Yes.
Mr. Rocket,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Byram,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Mr. Todd,
Yes.
Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, members. That's unanimous. All righty. Hunter, we move this item up into the action items, and I believe this is the appointment that you want us to consider.
Yes, sir, and thank you for moving this up to action. The item before you is the consideration of an appointment to the Winston-Salem Area TPO's Regional Flexible Funding Subcommittee. With the adoption of the RFF, Regional Flexible Funding Program and Policy on July 18th, 2024 by this board, we established a subcommittee of the Winston-Salem Area TPO. The function of this subcommittee is to carry out the Regional Flexible Funding Program and make sure that we are getting projects off on a good foot with good schedules and good cost estimates. Due to a retirement on the board by Mr. Jeff Turner, we are nominating Mr. Matt Jones, the current Division Project Development Engineer for NCDOT Division 9, to serve for the remainder of Jeff Turner's 2-year term. This nomination will also provide the flexibility for a named contract engineer to serve in lieu of Matt Jones in the event of schedule conflicts. We thank you again for escalating this item to an action item today and are happy to take any questions on this item.
Questions for Hunter? Entertain a motion, please.
I'd move that we recommend that we accept the recommendation for action.
Second.
Mr. Apple makes the motion. Ms. Adams makes the second. Any further discussion? All righty, John.
Mr. Robert Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Bessie,
Yes.
Mr. Brannon,
Yes.
Mr. Rocket,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Byram,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Mr. Todd,
Yes.
Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
Righty, thank you, members. That is unanimous. That takes care of our action items today. We move into our informational items. And I believe, John, you have the first one on that.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Horn. This item appears on page 165 in the TAC book and is an informational item, is a step modification for I-5880, the I-40 NC 109 Thomasville Road, Clemensville Road split diamond interchange, which is to be converted to a half diamond interchange at 109 to a full diamond interchange. This is being modified due to cost increases exceeding $2 million and 25% thresholds. And this will be subject to a 30-day public review before the May TAC meeting.
All righty. Thank you, John. You have the next one as well.
Yes. Let me share my screen on this. Set up. Can everyone see that?
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
starting to see it now.
We
Yep.
got it.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. If you recall, back last fall, we had a discussion on best practices and looking at other TPOs, NPOs throughout the state and seeing some things that could be improved upon here. And that started with going to a digital agenda. And another thing we looked at in conversation was the bylaws for the TCC as well as the TAC. Currently, something we looked at was a consent agenda, which is not currently in our TAC bylaws. And we looked at what peer agencies have in terms of that. Just a quick refresher to get started. Bylaws are the purpose and goals of the committee, membership and officers and meeting structures. MOU basically is the agreements between the parties, responsibilities, processes, and timeframes of agreements. And if there's any conflict, the MOU will carry precedence over bylaws. But for this specific topic, we're just looking at bylaws today. Again, we do not have language that addresses having a consent agenda. Consent agenda items are deemed to be routine and non-controversial in nature, such as UPWP amendments, TIP amendments, letters of support, as well as meeting minutes. By having a consent agenda, more time could be spent addressing more complex issues and as well as discussion of those issues. We reached out to several NPOs, I believe it was 10, if I'm doing my math right. As you see here, 8 had both TAC and TCC bylaws or consent agenda in both the TAC and TCC bylaws.
John, could you update your screen?
Is it not updated? Is it not updated?
On us.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, sorry about that. Playing with 2 screens here. But the 10 MPOs, TPOs across that we heard back from, 8 had consent agenda in their both committees' bylaws. Campo and Raleigh had consent agenda in TAC only, and Greensboro did not have a consent agenda in any of the bylaws. Did that advance for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Again, typical items that would be considered for the consent agenda would be minutes, TIP amendments, UPWP amendments, letters of support, as well as the annual self-certification of the TPO. I believe I jumped ahead of myself. In your book, there are proposed revisions to Section 5 dealing with the agenda. We worked with our lead planning agencies, City of Winston-Salem's legal team, in updating this. We looked at, it was pretty much standard language that the MPOs and TPOs used that were using consent agendas, and that would basically have a regular agenda portion and a consent agenda portion. And I can show you an example of that just in a minute on another slide. Again, it would be comprised of a consent agenda, a regular agenda, a similar agenda to other MPOs and TPOs throughout the state. Members can raise questions, seek clarification, add direction to consent agenda items without removing the item. They can be approved in one action rather than going through a series of motions, and would be subject to direct action and not go through an informational item process. Items that require a public review process will still be going through that process. And just as an example, on your left is the TAC meeting agenda for today. And on the right of the screen is roughly a mock-up of how agenda consisting of with a consent agenda, how it would look. Under there, you would see consent agenda and the meeting minutes, amendments to the TIP, as well as the letter of support today. These can be pulled anytime, much like any of your council meetings run now. The regular agenda would begin with, as you see, action items followed by information items, much like how it is today. Are there any questions about this updating the bylaws?
Any questions for John? John, just a simple clarification from my mind. Most of us operate with consent agendas in our municipalities, so this is no different than what we're talking about there. We're looking at items that routinely come before the TAC that aren't controversial, that are pretty much factual that we can move through and expedite our meetings a little bit. However, should anybody in review of the consent agenda wish to discuss any of those items, they certainly can individually. Is that in essence it?
That is correct.
Very good. Okay. Any questions? Thank you, John. You also have the last item on our informational items.
Thank you again, Mayor Horn. This is a review of the proposed modification to the Winston-Salem Urban Area Federal Functional Classification Network. Last fall, I presented what the FFC was. Just a quick refresher on that. The FFC, Federal Functional Classification, is used to determine roadways for eligibility for federal funding, looking at roadway design elements, project and prioritization. It looks at also traffic patterns, how they change over time that could affect the federal functional classification of a highway. We had a call for projects that's opened up on October the 1st that ran through November the 25th of 2024. And the Village of Clemens submitted a FFC change request for Stadium Drive from local road to a major collector. This was taken up at the TPO's Streets and Highways Subcommittee meeting on February the 10th this year. And it was discussed using the application, which can be found on page 178, was looked at through the criteria that has been established to evaluate the request on page 181 in your book. And the Streets and Highway Subcommittee found that the change request for Stadium Drive met or exceeded the standards for a major collector. And on page 182 shows you kind of the FFC network of the area, the various land uses along Stadium Drive, as well as location. Are there any questions on that?
Any questions for John? All righty, members, those will be coming back to us next month as action items. That concludes our items for review, our regular staff reports. Of course, members, you can ask for any staff report to come forward or be sent to you. Hunter, you did want to just take a second to talk about our locally administrative projects report.
I did, and thank you for the opportunity, Mayor Horn. In a moment here, I'll be sharing my screen to highlight some of the work that we've been doing to help improve how we're tracking our regional flexible funding or locally administered projects. And that is through our MPO database program. What you see in your spreadsheet report is partially exported as a result of our new MPO database platform. The main update that you'll see there is that a lot of the TIP and STIP amendments that this board has been processing from November through February have made some pretty significant impacts to these projects by either adding that additional funding through our RFF programs or adding utilities phases or additional phases of work that are needed for projects to move forward. So thank you for that. But now I will go ahead and share my screen and just give kind of a brief overview of what our database looks like currently, and then give you an idea of what the future of the database will be like and how you will use it. So can someone just please confirm that you now see something that says Workflow Manager and like a listing of projects on the screen?
They're there.
Excellent. So each of your member agencies, particularly your technical coordinating committee staff members, have access to this platform that we call Workflow Manager. Workflow Manager was and is funded through last year's Unified Planning Work Program, and is intended to allow us to track all of our TIP projects, but with specific emphasis on our locally administered projects. So you'll see right now we have approximately 50 projects loaded into the database, and the intent here is that any of your staff can log in at any time to see what the status of a project is, as well as communicate with us on any status changes that might be necessary. So when you first get into the database, you'll see that it is sorted into several different categories that we call TIP delivery, and that's programming. Fortunately, we do not have too many projects that will be newly STIP programmed, although we will add a couple of the CMAC and CRP projects that this board just approved. So they'll move out of the TIP selection category finally and into TIP delivery. So that status will be changed very soon. But you can see we have 18 projects that are funded, but maybe do not have authorization for a particular phase of work yet. We have a few that are in the process of being deprogrammed from the STIP. There are 16 that have been authorized for preliminary engineering, 7 authorized for right-of-way, 1 in utilities, 2 in construction, and certainly more than 2 complete in the grand scheme of all of history, but we included a couple of recent ones, namely the Williams Road Roundabout improvements and Gateway Project and the Blue Heron Trail were 2 that we happen to have uploaded to this database. When you log in, or when one of your members logs in, they can do queries by agency. They can sort it down to, let's say, hey, we're only interested in projects in the town of Kernersville. You can sort it down, and it will take it down to the 5 locally administered projects. And one day, the highway TIP projects that aren't funded through our RFF will be in here as well. And then you can go into any one of these projects, get information about the purpose and need, which staff members are assigned to a project. Again, information on the status, any information related to right-of-way work that will need to be done, utilities work that has been done already and will be needed, the type of environmental clearance that will be involved with the project, and so on. You'll also see that there is a funding tab that gives some more up-to-date information on which fiscal year certain funds are programmed in, and it identifies the program. The idea is that this will be a little bit more friendly to read than the very big PDF or Excel STIP, and will be a nice place for folks to come in. So I wanted to highlight that. A nice thing that our agencies will also be able to track is when we do TIP amendments, there will be an amendments tab, and every single TIP amendment, essentially from this point forward, will be tied to a project. So when you approve an item N, right, one of the items that John puts forward, it may have 7 or 8 projects on that list. We'll upload that item N, tag those projects, and each of those projects, as long as the ID is properly identified in there, you will be able to pull the resolution and the item N and date in which that TIP amendment was approved. So we're very excited about that. We think that's going to streamline some things for us. There's also some GIS information in here. And then finally, I wanted to show off our reports tab. And you'll see that there are different things that you can sort by here. Right now, it differentiates between the delivery TIP and the selection TIP. Currently, we have 6 projects that are undergoing some form of selection. Some of those, to be honest with you, are just draft projects, but a couple of them are the CMAC and CRP projects that you just approved. Those will move into delivery. There's a display on what status the project is under. So we have 18 that are funded, 16 in PE, and so on. It gives a count on the number of projects by agency, and it also allows you to filter. So let's say you weren't interested in that selection category because a lot of those projects are drafts and they're not approved yet. You'd want to go to the delivery, you click to this, and it automatically filters it down to just the subset of 50 projects that are in delivery. You get a revised count that 35 of our locally administered projects are bike ped projects, 8 are highway and intersection projects, 4 are kind of odd duck other projects, and 3 in transit currently. And a breakdown again by agency. This will be helpful for us as we track that project cap that we adopted with the Regional Flexible Funding Program, as well as the current cost estimate, which should in most cases reflect what is programmed in the STIP. If you ever wanted to pull.
Would you clarify for me how the TAC committee members once again can access this database?
That's a great question. So we will be able to provide viewer access to any TAC member who is interested in accessing this database. So you won't be able to go in and edit projects or anything like that, but you will have access to certain features like these reports, as well as seeing an uneditable version of any given project. So I'd like to extend that via email. You should receive an email from me sometime in April when the database is fully complete, and we would love to have as many of you access it as often as you can.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that clarification.
No problem, and thank you for asking the question. And just one last thing to add here, any of these reports can be exported as images. Some of them can be exported as spreadsheets, and you can filter it essentially however you want. So let's say you were only interested in Village of Clemens projects as an example. It filters it automatically down to what we've got there, and it gives you the current cost estimates and amounts programmed for those projects and describes the stage that it's in. Let's say you really wanted to nerd out on this and you wanted more information than that, you can always return to our main page right here. And we've got in the upper right-hand corner this cloud button that says download CSV. I would select the basic project data, and what that will do is it will export it to a spreadsheet with all of the information in spreadsheet form that you see displayed in kind of this prettier format here on the screen. So we're really excited about this project. It's got a few more, hurdles to clear before it's totally ready for prime time, but we think that this is going to be a helpful tool to track the performance of our regional flexible funding program and begin to continue to move our projects forward. Thanks for the opportunity.
That's great. That's pretty amazing. In fact, Hunter's been excited all week about being able to present this to the TAC. You guys have been working on this. I want to say we first talked about this about a year ago. And so you guys have been working on it quite a while.
That's correct. And about a year ago was when we were working on the scope, and we got this firm under contract this summer. And since this summer, we have been working on this and are rapidly heading towards the finish line in mid-April. So glad to put a bow on it.
That's fabulous. Any questions for Hunter on that? Excellent. Members, we're at the end of our meeting. Reminder, our next meeting is May 15th, and that will be also a virtual meeting. Mr. Bessie?
Yes, just when it's appropriate, I had a couple of questions about staff reports.
Yes, sir.
I think I got to go ahead on that.
Yes, sir.
No, thank you very much. This question actually, I believe about A and B, the Division 9 report and the locally administered projects report, but it's for Mr. Fansler. Mr. Fansler, I understand that there has been a status change on the EB 4020C project, Rushy Fork Greenway from Lowry Street to Reynolds Park Road in Winston-Salem. Can you tell us about that, please?
Thank you, Commissioner Bessie. So the latest update I have from our engineering department, they finally ushered an agreement across the finish line with the railroad company, which has been a really major hangup for some time for that project. And so, maybe we'll just call it attorney ping pong for some time, but we have some executed agreement, and that since it's been a time lapse, there's been some design contractual changes that we have to go out and figure out, and then probably do a supplemental agreement with the design firm. But anyway, long story short, Commissioner, we have some momentum. We've got an executed agreement with the railroad, but because of the time it has taken to do that, we do have to do some supplemental work with the design consultant and kind of right size the scope. So that'll be the next kind of, as we embark on that moving forward, we'll address that. Hopefully be wrapping up design fairly soon.
Thank you, Mr. Fansler. I just wanted you to be recognized for that because that is a stage of that project that has spanned 20 years and a signed agreement from the railroad. authorizing that to move forward is, yeah, I think I'll recognize that as a miracle. Hallelujah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bessie. Any other comments or thoughts this afternoon, folks?
Chairman Horn,
Yes, sir.
a couple quick announcements. Town of Bermuda Run tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. We'll be having a ribbon cutting to open a small segment of phase 2 of our Blue Heron Trail. Very excited about that. Anyone who travels on I-40 going west sees the big metal bridge in Bermuda Run. Pedestrians will be able to cross that bridge at 10:01 tomorrow. Second quick announcement for those of you who are not aware of it on this call. Our chairman, also the mayor of Louisville, on Saturday will be honored with a dedication of a Mike Horn amphitheater in the town of Louisville at Jack Warren Park. Just wanted to give a shout out to our outstanding chairman and the mayor of Louisville. He'll never do it. I did. Congratulations.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that a lot. They ran out of people to put their names on, so I was the last guy in the box, I think. No, in fact, everybody's invited. We're going to have a really nice activity. Folks are invited to come out, and if you arrive, you'll get as I mentioned earlier, an official, authentic, professional frisbee, which I think they call them golf discs things. And but we'll have a great time and play a round of frisbee golf and take a walk on our nature trails and enjoy our new amphitheater. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that plug. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, members. Anything else? Well, for those of you who are keeping score on your brackets, it looks like Clemson is going to get blown out by McNeese State.
Whoa.
So if you're carrying Clemson forward on any of your brackets, you are now out of luck.
Took care of most people in this area.
Chairman Horn,
Yes.
can you confirm our next meeting? Virtual
Yes, sir.
or
It
in
is
person?
It is May 15th. It'll be at 4:15 as always, and it will be a virtual meeting.
Because the calendar shows it in person.
It will be in person.
Well, okay, so it'll be in person, Mr. Rocket. We get to see each other.
Thank you.
Unless I show up virtually, which is a real possibility of that. Okay. Thank you, folks, for the clarification. Anything else to come before the committee this afternoon? If not, thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for taking time out of your day. We do important work, and always good to see you. And next month, in May, we'll actually be able to see each other in person. With that, we're adjourned.